This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, if you are watching this online at the DFL Progressive Caucus, this is the candidate forum for Duluth City Council candidates. And unfortunately, I did not hit record at the start of the meeting, so you just missed the opening statements of the 4 at-large candidates. We are now going to move to District 1, and our first speaker will be Wendy, followed by Tim. Wendy, when you're ready.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for having me here. My name is Wendy Derwachter. My pronouns are she, her. I'm running for City Council in District 1. And I know what it's like to have your kids leave after high school and wonder if they'll be able to return to the city they grew up in. I want all of our kids to have opportunities right here in Duluth, to follow their passions and start their careers, and to know that the city will have everything they need to build their lives here. I originally came to Duluth for the outdoors, but quickly fell in love with the community and opportunities that were available in Duluth. I was able to pursue my passion while a single mother of 2, working 2 to 3 jobs to afford rent. And I have now composed several musical works that have been performed across the Northland. We all know that this wouldn't be possible for a single working mother in other cities that might be larger, or cities of this size that just don't have as strong of arts programs or arts enthusiasts. Duluth is really special that way, and now is the time when we most need to foster and support everything that makes Duluth great. Although I've always been socially and politically engaged, I spent most of my adult life focused on raising my 2 children as a single mother and pursuing my work. Like many of you, in 2016, I felt compelled to become more active. I became involved with Duluth for Clean Water and joined the SD8 and Duluth DFL party boards. I joined campaign teams and knocked doors for our local DFL candidates. I'm particularly proud of the work I did as a member of State Senator Jen McEwen's campaign team. And when City Councilor Gary Anderson announced he was not seeking election this year, I once again felt compelled to step up. As a city councilor, I'll work with the community to ensure Duluth is a place that all of us can call home. I will focus on expanding childcare and affordable housing and having clean water and green spaces. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, up next is Tim. Tim, when you're ready.
Thank you very much for having me here this evening. I'm Tim Meyer. I'm a principal architect with Meyer Group Architects based here in Duluth. We also have offices in Ashland and Minnetonka, Minnesota as of March 1st. I've lived in Duluth now for 32 years in the Lakeside neighborhood in District 1. I've been an architect for 36 years, so been in Duluth 32 of those 36 years. Through that time, I've been very community involved, with a lot of that involvement being with the city of Duluth and city commissions. I'm currently serving on the HRA commission, feeling that housing issues and affordable housing is really important to me. I'm also involved with the Apex Economic Development Group. We're currently working on trying to attract some cottage home and tiny home manufacturing to the region. I also sit on the Superior Historic Preservation Commission as a professional member there. Also had 2 terms on our HPC here in Duluth. Also served on the Public Arts Commission and 2 terms with Councilor Kennedy on the Planning Commission here in Duluth. I actually went through a startup of my own business back in 2009, and going through that, got to experience our entire system for entrepreneurs and startup businesses in Duluth. So I consider myself to be a local expert of some kind on starting new business or small business. So I feel that this city council and commission experience is really important to being good city councilor. So thank you very much for having me.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. All right. I do see in the delegate list, we do have former city councilor in the 2nd district, Joel Cypress, and current city councilor in the 2nd district, Mike Mayo. But that seat is not on the ballot this time. So we will move to District 3. Sitting city councilor Roz Randorf, if you are ready, you may give your opening statement.
I'm super ready. Thanks so much, Rich. And thank you for providing this platform for us. My name is Roz Randorf, and I've lived in Duluth since 2006. I'm the current sitting 3rd district councilor. I moved here when I was transferred with work. I worked for the Duluth News Tribune, and I moved here with my partner, Kevin, and my 2 sons, Spencer and Simon, and our big dog, Charlie. Unfortunately, Kevin died in 2013. He was the Rose Man on Central Entrance that died in that plane crash. And so that kind of sent me into kind of a single motherhood for the rest of those years. When I'm not working, I love gardening. You will find me in my yard. I love planting pollinators. I am a weeder. I'm a digger. I'm also an educator for the St. Louis County Master Gardener Program. And I also am a mushroomer. So I love foraging for chanterelles. You'll see me hunting for morels and boletes when I can find them. And I enter this race with deep conviction that I can make a substantial contribution to the people that live in Duluth. I believe I can help their quality of life. When this work is done well, it means listening, diving into issues, working through problems, connecting with people and connecting them to services. I'm proud to be the clean water candidate. I'm really super glad that I'm running on the values of housing for everyone, all income levels, protecting our natural resources, sustainable economic development, meaning bringing workable jobs that people can live on in safe neighborhoods so we can have a vibrant downtown. And I'm glad to be here, and thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you, Ross. Moving to the 4th district now, we have one candidate, Salam Witherspoon. Salam, when you are ready, you can begin.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Salam Witherspoon, born and raised here in Duluth. I am the youngest of 11 children. I am a mother of 2, a single mother of 2. Helena is 9 and Josiah is 11 or 12. He just had a birthday. They're both in Duluth public schools. I guess I earned a degree from Superior College, like my associate arts degree. I also serve as a community outreach specialist for getting the voice heard of marginalized populations into organizations to improve programming. I am the chair of the Unity Fund through Duluth Superior Area Foundation. I'm the chair of the St. Louis County Heading Home Advisory Council. I'm on the vice chair of Community Action of Duluth. I'm interim. Also, I just love serving the community. I guess I'm running because I know what it feels like to be powerless, and I learned how to regain my dignity. I was actually home with my son for over a year, couch hopping from family members' houses. I'm also a Lincoln Park homeowner, first-time homeowner. And I'm just honored to have the opportunity to run and have a supportive team behind me. Also, I want to invite folks, community members, take the journey with me. Not that I want to represent them as, they see fit, and I'm honored to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Salam. This brings us to District 5, and the first speaker will be sitting City Councilor Janet Kennedy. Janet, when you are ready.
Thank you. I just want to remind folks, District 5 is open for business. And I say that in jest, but I also say that seriously because District 5 had been left behind for a long time. And I've been able to work over the last 4 years serving as the current president, along with Vice President Randorf. We have 2 women in leadership, and I don't believe that's ever happened. But back to West Duluth, I've been able to move forward policies as a city councilor, not as just as the president, but as on the city council for the last 3 years, not only as a councilor, but also on the health and all policies team. I've served on the comprehensive plan. I've served on the St. Louis County board for health and human services. I've served and served and served, but that's what my mom taught me. We came here in the 60s. They came for the Air Force, and they were military refugees from the South in the 60s. And if you think about that, that's the Jim Crow and all the racism that was going on. They came here looking for a better life. I stand on her shoulders. I stand on all of our African heritage community members, elders' shoulders, as well as many on this call who are delegates that have helped me get to where I am. So I thank you all. I really look forward to serving with a lot of the younger new folks coming up. It's going to be exciting. But along with that, we know we need some stability, and I am that stability. And so I'm asking for your support. It's really important that we have new and old together as we pass along those new leaderships. We need some mentorship, and we need some young voices. So I am that voice. A couple of things that are really important to me in projects in Western Duluth is making sure we get that community impact development and the investments from the city. I've been able to work with the city. I've been able to work with counselors. I've been able to work with the community to build what we want to see. And I will just end up by saying, last time I ran, I didn't have as much support as I thought, but we won anyways. This year, I know that I have about 70% support of my community who didn't support me before. So I look for your support in this election, and I look to talking more. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. All right, that concludes the opening statements.
I believe you have one more.
Oh, I am so sorry. I was moving too quickly.
Oh, no worries, no
Ginka,
worries.
Ginka Tarnowski, you are running in the 5th, and you have your 2 minutes of your opening statement. Please forgive me.
Thank you. I mean, you might have to take your ginkgo to remember me, Ginka. Yuck, 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 yuck. That's a funny joke. My name is Ginka Tarnowski. I am from Shumen, Bulgaria. I was adopted at the age of 4.5 by a family that lives in Duluth. I believe that being a progressive is learning, growing, and doing, and sometimes changing your stance. I want people to know more about me. I feel like a lot of people don't, and so I'm going to show you some of my hobbies. I enjoy knitting. I enjoy learning, reading, and eating sandwiches with friends. Thank you for having me participate in this forum, and I am looking forward to the questions.
Thank you, Ginka. And again, my apologies. All right, we are now moving to the first question after the opening statements, and we'll return to the at-large candidates. So at-large candidates, so that you're aware, we'll be doing the reverse order. So it'll be Jenna, followed by Miranda, and then Lynn, and then Ashley. For this question, you'll just have a slightly less amount of time, 1 minute and 30 seconds. And that will take us about 15 minutes to get through the first question for everyone to go. And here is the question for everyone to answer. I'm curious to know where you would place yourself on the spectrum of moderate to progressive DFLer, and what role social justice plays in your politics, and how will those things shape you as a city councilor? So again, where do you place yourself on the spectrum of moderate to progressive DFLer? What role does social justice play in your politics? And how will that shape you as a city councilor? And our first speaker is Jenna.
Thanks, Rich. So as a local DFL party leader and as an organizer, I am committed to bringing progressive values and priorities to City Hall. I believe that I am on the, if this is the spectrum, I'm like over here on the progressive side, I have a track record of collaborating with justice-oriented community groups here in Duluth and across Minnesota and issue-based organizations to improve our city and our state. And in my role as an organizer with the Sierra Club, I get to connect constituents with their elected officials and the public process. And the public process can be wonky, it can be intimidating and exclusionary, and it can further marginalize folks who are and who have been historically oppressed by governing. And it is like so gratifying to me to support communities in the decision-making process who will be most impacted by the outcomes of our local government decisions. So I will be a listener first and foremost. And I move at the speed of trust and know that many community members, particularly those with marginalized identities, do as well. And that is a characteristic that I hope to bring to City Hall. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Miranda. Miranda, would you like to hear the question again, or are you ready to go?
I think I'm ready to go.
Great, thank you.
So for me, as a felon, like I was not able to make many decisions. So I didn't put much thought into like what I wanted to see changed in government, right? Because I didn't really have a voice. So entering this race, like I'm finding my voice, and like I've been there, you know, mental health, you know, addiction, homelessness, I've been there. And so I can only stand and like fight for them, right? And so I would consider that progressive, you know. And I'm so excited to, like I said, like I didn't really put much attention to, you know, or ever think that I would be in this position to make decisions in government. And I'm super excited for the challenge. So yeah.
Thank you. Lynn, you are up next. Would you like to hear the question again, or are you ready to go?
I'm good. I can do it.
Thank you.
Thanks. So as far as social justice goes, I mean, I worked fighting for battered women in the court system, and I definitely think that that experience shaped my life, along with just my childhood experiences. I grew up in a family where, particularly at a young formative age, we didn't have a lot of money. We grew up in a very rough mobile home community, and my parents had an opportunity to purchase a house that gave me a stable environment, gave me the opportunity to live in a place where I'd have good schools. I've translated that to my business and took those things to heart, and use that to consider people of all socioeconomic status, all backgrounds, and making sure that they have an opportunity to get housed, from developing supportive housing right now for those who have recently experienced incarceration, and all the way through, all the way up. I think it's really important that family getting their first foothold. I've been doing those things for 20 years. And so on the spectrum of social justice, that's something that I've been doing. That's what I do every day. I don't know how to answer the question on where I fall. I think I'm a pretty good, strong DFLer. So yes, that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. And our fourth candidate in the at-large race, Ashley, are you ready to go? Or would you like to hear the question?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Mhm.
So for the first question, I would say that I'm a really strong FDR Democrat, definitely on the progressive side of the spectrum, depending on the issue, but obviously there's nuances and colors of gray depending on each side, but definitely I'm on the progressive side of the end of the spectrum. I just want to first thank candidate Miranda for creating a space of rawness and authenticity when it comes to background stories and making it possible to be not perfect, but still the right person for the job. It's bittersweet that I have to, connect with her in a certain way because I grew up in an abusive home too. And my mom, the only reason why she's alive is because she was able to find housing to escape her situation. And I'm sorry, I can't say the same thing now to other Duluthian women now. I don't think that they would be able to find housing if they were in the same situation. And so for me, social justice isn't just a motto or a political platform, it's a way of life for me. It's the difference between living and dying within my family. I take it to heart of what we can do to give clean water sources and create a better community for our children. And I really, truly believe that with social justice and leading with empathy, which I try to practice every day, and leading with an abundance of listening and openness, that we can really accomplish a better Duluth where things are done to increase the quality of life and a better city for all. Thank you.
Rich, you're muted.
Yep.
Thank you very much. We're moving to District 1, and Wendy, since you had the opening statement last time, we'll have Tim start this time. Tim, would you like to hear the question again, or are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go, and I realize this may be the hardest question for me to answer of the evening. I've always had people try to put me into a box when it comes to my political orientation. I would consider myself to be a social capitalist, which there aren't a lot of us around, I don't think. Back in the early 1990s, I started doing community development work in the Native American community. And through doing that, I sort of found my calling as a professional person wanting to do work in the Native community. I'm also a business owner, but I use business to try to further my work in the Native community and doing community development work in the mainstream. So from that side, I consider myself to be a socialist. And so honestly, what I would really love to see is that capitalism be used to bring people out of poverty. I started doing work in the Native community purely because I wanted to see that segment of our community brought out of poverty, and believe very strongly in our creating opportunity for people in our communities of color. I think I grew up in central Minnesota from a Catholic Republican family, and through education, higher education, I found my openness and realized that the world is much larger than what I was exposed to growing up, and that led to my openness.
Thank you, Tim. Wendy, are you ready to go?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
As far as the spectrum goes, I consider myself to be very progressive. As far as social justice goes, I feel very strongly that we all thrive when we're treated fairly by government, when we all are treated fairly, and when we're all treated fairly by law enforcement, when we're all treated fairly by mortgage brokers and realtors and appraisers. I feel that we can all thrive when we are all treated fairly by rental application evaluators, and when we all have clean drinking water pipes, and when we all have clean water to swim in as well.
Thank you, Wendy. And that brings us to District 3. Roz.
Thank you, Rich, so much. Okay, so I'll repeat the question. Where am I on the spectrum from progressive to moderate? I would say clearly a progressive when you look at some of the issues. When you look at Minnesota Healthcare for All, I think of social justice, I think of fair and equitable division of resources. there's no battle that I can fight firmer than Minnesota Healthcare for All. When you think of 250,000 Duluthians go with little or no insurance, a lot of them are underinsured. They may have no insurance. They may not be going to medical appointments because they lack insurance. That's a battle that I'll fight for. I'm a formidable opponent. When you see me in the council chambers, if anyone's seen that, a quarter of Minnesota struggle to pay their health bills. So we need a Minnesota Healthcare for All. So if you measure that on a progressive scale, on social justice, on fair and equitable, I fight for what I believe in. I believe in that. I believe that's progressive, and no one can outbattle me.
Thank you, Roz. We now move to District 4. And Salam, would you like to hear the question again? Or are you ready to go?
Yes, will you repeat it, please?
For sure. Where do you place yourself on the spectrum of moderate to progressive DFLer? What role does social justice play in your politics? And how will that shape you as a city councilor?
Okay. So, like being a natural, like kind of like empathetic person, I'm a natural caregiver. I love to serve people. I was a part of that Health and All Policies campaign, and my slogan was like, I wanted to overrepresent the underrepresented people. So I would consider myself progressive. And that plays a role with like social politics as far as like helping people, you know, gain the tools that they need to advocate for themselves and how to impact policies, because there wouldn't be no political standpoint if there wasn't people to serve, if there wasn't people that, you know, were actually like that we had, you know, that needed us to put policies in place. But hopefully my idea is to, you know, not only represent District 4, but also take people along with me and help them learn the tools they need to impact power and change policies. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Salam. So now we move to District 5, and since Janet had the opening statement last time, we will begin with Ginka. Ginka, would you like the question again? Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay.
So I would place myself on the spectrum of moderate to progressive, 120%. I know. And then what role are you with the social justice movement? Yeah, I am very strong with that. Social justice is a very big issue, and making sure that people have have dignity to life is important to me. And with that, I try to shape my politics with that and making sure that people have access to basic human rights.
Thank you, Ginka. Which brings us to Janet. Janet, are you ready?
I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing. So social justice for me, and somebody had mentioned it, is a lived experience. And so as an African heritage woman living in Duluth, I have that lived experience of what it means to make it through. And I'm not even sure if I quite made it through yet, because I continue to be an African heritage woman caring for my mom, who has young grandchildren and children who are raising children. So I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'll ever be there, but I'm definitely working on it with a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my community members. I really truly believe a community will only prosper as a whole when we're all walking on even ground. So I lead with values, vision, and action as a servant leader. So when we talk about where we are on the spectrum of progressive or moderate, I'm a DFLer. And on the council, I'm just going to tell you, you go back and forth. There's not just a straight line. And you have to be able to move back and forth because you have constituents on either side. And sometimes you're going to support constituents that maybe you don't even feel like, you know, this is the wrong thing. And sometimes you don't. And so you guys have probably heard that you folks have heard that if you're watching the city council. So I'm not able to choose, and that's okay. And I want people to be okay with me not choosing. So social issues are important. Serving on the NAACP, working on all the policies I work on, building a nonprofit, working with the NTQ, GLBIA Commission, Human Rights Commission, Disabilities Commission, Indigenous Commission, and forming the African Heritage Commission. We are poised to make the changes we want to see. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we now return to the at-large candidates, and the order will change again. So the first speaker for question 2 is going to be Lynn, followed by Ashley, and then Jenna, and then Miranda. Here is your second question. Again, this is the DFL Progressive Caucus, and these are some of the issues that we find really pressing. So social justice is our, one of our top issues. Another way to think about this, what do you see as the main economic justice issues facing Duluth? And what is your plan to address the economic issues in front of the council? And so again, the order for the at-large is Lynn, followed by Ashley, followed by Jenna, followed by Miranda. Lynn, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good question. That one that involves a lot of thought. So I think that the biggest economic issue we have right now is our downtown. There's lots of vacant office space. There's opportunity to build, create new business, and also diversify it a little bit. Our downtown shouldn't be one that is just office space. It needs to be one that has diversity and some housing anchors there, some housing ownership there, housing ownership in different ways. So like co-op, think outside the box in more of an affordable way. By doing it that way, you could actually support a grocery store downtown. If you had some acres that would be there, there would be a support of that would also provide food and opportunity to fresh groceries for those who live in the area that tend to experience a little bit more poverty. That would probably be my number one thing that I would put out there. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ashley.
Hi, Rich. Could you repeat that question again?
Yes, for sure.
Thanks.
What do you see as the main economic justice issues facing Duluthians, and what is your plan to address those economic issues?
Sure. So first of all, I think part of the issue is that we're stuck in a paradigm as a city focusing on economic development as opposed to community or workforce-based development. Economic development in the city in the past has been more about funding larger businesses through TIFs or other financial incentives in the hopes that it will eventually trickle down to the rest of the city. But I think what we need to do is really work on developing the community and the foundational citizens that we have here in the hopes of enriching those businesses and bringing further growth vertically. And part of how I want to tackle that is by encourage organizations to represent our interest of the workforce at all levels, so diversifying and creating inclusive workforce spaces. I have unwavering support for living wages and fair benefits to all employees. So doing what we can economically to increase wages within the city of Duluth is essential as the city councilors, and that's what I will be fighting for, as well as reinvigorating downtown and doing what we can to create equitable distribution within all of Duluth sectors and helping push for rental rights and for the protections against gentrification. When we fight for all Duluthians, we can help better increase our economic standing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Our third speaker is Jenna.
Thanks, Rich. And I'm just like nodding my head along to some of these policy proposals and priorities as far as ensuring that we're strategically using our TIF funding, our public funds for Duluthians and residents and neighborhoods that will benefit people here now, but also for future generations. I'm really, really pleased to hear some anti-gentrification speak. And I do think too that Duluth as a college town should and can be part of the national conversation about student debt forgiveness. As someone with like a monstrous pile of student debt, I know how limiting and burdensome it can be. So canceling student loan debt can help us get closer to the help us close racial wealth gap and making buying a house or starting a family here possible. But I also think that the city of Duluth can be doing more to support students and graduates by enhancing career pathways, including job training programs, supporting workers unions. And this is the time to develop such programs with increased capacity for community development and clean energy projects through the IRA, through the IJA, through our state surplus. We can be using these funds to prioritize projects that will benefit Duluth communities now and in the future. Things like removing lead service pipelines from homes and buildings, expanding broadband, high-speed internet across the city. There are so many incredible opportunities to be ensuring economic justice right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Jenna. In District 1, we are back to Wendy as starting off. Wendy, would you like to hear the question again? Are you ready?
Did we do Miranda?
Oh my goodness. I have too many screens up. I am sorry. Miranda, thank you very much. And Miranda, would you like to hear the question again?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you see as the main economic justice issues facing Duluthians? And what is your plan to address those economic issues?
Well, of course, like a lot of people talk about lack of affordable housing. Because if people don't have a place to lay their heads at night, how can they start to even think about like getting a job or, you know, taking care of their basic needs if they don't even have a safe place to call home? You know, how are they going to even start to think about education? How are they going to even start to think about like a dream for themselves, right? And so housing, I think, is number one for me. Lack of livable wages. My daughter, she's 17. She works, she makes $10.25. Imagine trying to live off of that. Like, we need livable wages in some areas, right? Lack of access to healthcare, lack of culturally appropriate programming, because for me, health is wealth, especially in the BIPOC community. And also, if we don't have clean and sustainable water, there's money doesn't even matter.
Thank you very much, Miranda. And I apologize again for not following the order of the speakers, my mistake. And so now we go to District 1 with Wendy taking the question first, followed by Tim. Wendy, would you like to hear the question again, or are you ready?
I apologize. I would like to hear it again.
Sure, no problem. What do you see as the main economic justice issues facing Duluthians? And what is your plan to address those economic issues?
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Housing is one of the biggest, and having livable wages. I've heard from a lot of people that childcare is a big issue as well. Not only is it hard to afford childcare, people are waiting over a year to even attain the ability to do childcare. And as a single parent, that's debilitating. Even as a two-parent family, I've heard that people really struggle to pay their bills because housing's so expensive. And also, there's just not enough housing available. Recently, I learned that one Zillow listing had 270 applications. I also learned that a couple are paying $125 a month for having 2 dogs. That's That's just a little thing that I thought was completely silly, but people also, when people aren't housed, they can't thrive, they can't have, they can't be part of the community in a functioning way. Another issue is wages and having a unified workforce where you feel supported. Hospitality industry should definitely be together to demand to be treated fairly, as well as others.
Thank you, Wendy. And Tim.
Thanks, Rich. I'm going to apologize to a couple of my friends who are on the call tonight here. They've probably heard this before, but I've worked with several friends, both African American, Asian Americans, who tried to start up businesses, worked with them on business plans and cash flow projections and great business ideas that weren't able to get started because they couldn't get access to capital. And so I believe that more underwriting by the city and county governments to help people in our communities of color that want to be able to start businesses, help increase access to capital. I did really enjoy here this last year the GDC's pop-up collab efforts that were made. I think that was a really great idea to show how some of these small businesses really certainly could grow into permanent businesses with the right support. So we need more aggressive actions in this area, especially with small business and our communities of color. I believe that this underwriting could, as I mentioned, be through the city and county, possibly the state, using the entrepreneur funds that we already have in Duluth with Northland Foundation, ARDC, the city's 1200 fund, and other banks and lenders in Duluth to support our communities of color and business startups there.
Thank you, Tim. This brings us to District 3. Roz, are you ready to go? Would you like to hear the question?
Yep, I'm ready, Rich. Thanks so much. I see two key areas for economic justice. One, you've heard it, housing for all. We need more housing for everybody. I voted to put in $19 million worth of our CARES Act money, our COVID money to put more housing in. We got 500 units. And Center City Housing is doing some supportive housing, 60 units in Ramsey neighborhood. We got 30 more in Wadena neighborhood coming. We need more. We need more highly supportive housing for folks that are dealing with mental health and drug addiction. Second problem, taxing. We can't tax our seniors, our folks that have poverty, our folks with fixed income out of the neighborhoods. We looked at a 8.9% levy increase. I was one that brought it down to 7.9. We have a 19.25% healthcare crisis going on in the city. We can't expect LGA to fill the gap when we're rising with running the city. So absolutely, we need to make sure we're shoring in our taxes, because we can't make it such a high tax where our folks that are living in poverty can't afford to live here.
Thank you, Russ. Salam, you are up next. Would you like to hear the question again?
I'm good, thanks though.
Okay, great.
So I see that a major issue for the economic justice in Duluth is mental health. There's a lot of folks are mentally challenged, like mentally ill, and don't even feel safe talking about their issues. Childcare for sure, housing definitely, elder care. There's not livable wages, and people don't really want to work like hard for pennies. And strongly, I believe that there's not enough programming for BIPOC populations to help them like develop tools to even be in the workforce field. So that would help tremendously is in investing more into people so they can invest in themselves. And how do I plan to address this issue? Just listening to community, what they want, partner with local businesses to build trust with constituents in the city of Duluth. Also, hold each other accountable to implement these changes. Thank you.
Thank you. So this brings us to District 5. And on the second question, we will start with Janet and then followed by Ginka. Janet, would you like to hear the question again, or are you ready to go?
No, I think I'm good. I have too many answers and lots of bullet points, so we'll see if we get them in. Thank you
Janet.
so much. I think economic justice starts with really looking at policies in a way that capture the social determinants of health, and we use that language a lot. I've been really proud of working and co-authoring the Housing Trust Fund, which brought in $2 million for housing. And again, me and Roz, we worked well together. We don't always agree. That tax levy we worked on hard. We still have an ordinance coming through, but it's really important that we're listening to constituents about how we're moving forward our property taxes. I also believe that community funding needs to have a benefit. We cannot allow developers to get by without saying what they're going to do. By letting them not do what they say they're going to do. Good faith is really, really important on all of our developments. One of the most important things for me is community-centered economic development. And maybe have heard this mantra, community impact development is good economic development. I've been working on that. I built 3 resolutions around every neighborhood being able to build what they want to see, whether that be childcare, care from childbirth up, with after-school programming, which is much needed in Western Duluth, and we have a project we're moving forward for that. We've built policies around that so every neighborhood can really vision and work towards what they need to see, whether it be housing, childcare, or a well-being place that is intergenerational. Even our older folks need somewhere to go in the wintertime. They can't all walk outside on the trails. It just doesn't work. Thank you.
Ginka.
Hello. I'm good to go.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I really want to focus on housing, specifically zoning codes in the city of Duluth. My dad is a contractor and he doesn't want to build in Duluth because of all the processes that Duluth has set up for building. And so cost of living, building a house in Duluth is going to be more expensive because of that, because so many contractors don't want to build in Duluth. The other thing is cost of living, and that also goes towards the housing issue. And then I really want to focus on the lack of transparency with city government. The constituents that I've talked with are kind of upset with city government and don't trust them fully, specifically the park levy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginka. All right, this brings us to the third question, which is the final individual question before a closing remarks. And back in the at-large race, this time Miranda will have the first speaker on this question, followed by Jenna, and then Ashley, and then Lynn. So again, Miranda, Jenna, Ashley, and Lynn. So continuing with this theme, it's a very similar question, but now it's a different topic. What do you see as the main environmental justice issues facing Duluth and Duluthians? And what is your plan to address those environmental justice issues? Again, the first speaker is
Okay.
Miranda.
Okay. Environmental justice.
Yes.
Okay. So automatically I thought of water, right? And our environment. And so just to say, obviously I'm Native. And so what the thing since I started my campaign and I started thinking about the things that are really important to me, the water came up because you know, I had asked myself, well, why? Because I have a relationship to the land, you know, in many of our ceremonies we use water, like our spiritual, there's a whole spiritual aspect to it. And me and my children have connections to the water, right? And so I will, you know, I'm going to be very fortunate to be able to sit on the council and defend the water. And so I guess that's what I thought of right away when you talked about environmental justice, because we need to take care of the, you know, the plants and the water and the trees, because just like I said, because I have a relationship to that. And so those are my values as an Indigenous woman.
Thank you, Miranda. Jenna.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. I'm thinking about the awful wildfire, smoky air, wildfire causing air pollution that we had this last year. And I live in West Duluth, close to I-35. I also live with asthma and could not leave my home for many days and had to put together a like a hodgepodge fan to keep our indoor air clean. So replacing freeways and reducing our reliance on cars is very close to home with to me. I think that we should be investing in alternative transportation infrastructures that can reconnect and invest in our downtown districts while increasing our waterfront access. Like our transportation model is currently like a big contributor to climate and air pollution, and it fails to prioritize cross-city connection. And as a city councilor, I would hope to work to create a healthier, more connected city by prioritizing street design and modes of transportation that put people first. Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to Ashley.
Thank you. So first of all, I hold myself to be a rights of nature-based candidate. I believe in respecting and restoring and providing dignity to all aspects of Duluth ecosystem. And as a city council candidate, and if I'm so lucky to be elected to that position, I would like to publicly support Prove It First legislation in order to help continue protecting our local water resources, not just in Duluth, but within the Northland region, because we're all interconnected in some way, shape, or form. So that's vitally important. I also think so much of protection is also what we can do just as citizens in helping our community better. So I'd like to work as a city councilor to help cultivate tree planting programs and garbage pickup programs to help consider creating a better, more beautiful Duluth. And I also think it is important and essential that we take stock of our commitment to expand alternative and green energy sources usage on municipal buildings and promote to encourage the use of alternative energy sources in new construction. And I'd also like to further expand that into also how we look at public transportation and increasing the amount of rides that are available, not just to give environmental equity to the disabled communities and those of lower income demographics, but to help create a society where we don't have stigma or shame on using those helpful and interconnected resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. And Lynn.
Thank you. Well, when it comes to water, I think obviously the lead pipe discussion has been something that has been happening through the city. I know the city is working to get grant money to remove the lead pipes. With that, I would say we need to pause once we have that and think about the quickest, most efficient way we can actually do it before we just start digging. I think thoughtful digging is very important. The other thing is that there has been multiple articles, studies finding PFAS or forever chemicals in our fish in Lake Superior. And we need to figure out how to filter that out. How are we filtering it out of our drinking water, the water that we're putting into Lake Superior, to make sure that it's healthy? That stuff affects our bodies, our endocrine systems, reproductive systems, and so forth. Our storm sewers, right now, if you drop garbage in the street, it just goes right into the sewer and right into Lake Superior. How are we filtering that out? And I think that's an important thing. The other thing is that with pollution, environment, water, density is going to be very important as we are developing housing. That is also a good way to make public transportation more viable and more usable. If you can put more homes more dense together, it will give us a better air quality and also provide better transportation system for those who are using it, and low-income people, particularly who don't own cars. Thanks.
Thank you, Lynn. In District 1, we now switched the order here so that Tim, you will be first, followed by Wendy. Would you like to hear the question again, Tim?
No, that's okay. I was just gonna say a lot of people don't think of it this way, but architects, one of our primary concerns in developing buildings or developing sites is water quality, and making sure that we're making sure that any of the water runoff leaving the sites and getting back into our water table is clean, and that water quality is a focus of all the work that we do. Many of you probably know that buildings are 85% of our carbon footprint. The city owning quite a few buildings, that we need to show leadership in this area in terms of a transition to a green economy and green building. Examples of this would be the city fleet, to get rid of all of our fossil fuel vehicles and transition to electric or other alternative energy. Our buildings being much more efficient than what they currently are through time, and our homes. I think the city can show leadership in helping everybody in upgrading their homes to a more energy efficient, possibly energy generating with photovoltaics. Comfort Systems has always had a really great energy program. I think we could use this to expand their services in terms of promoting a green transition in Duluth.
Right at the buzzer there. That was great. Wendy, you're up next.
Thanks, Rich. I apologize again. Would you mind repeating the question, please?
No problem. What do you see as the main environmental justice issues facing Duluthians and Duluth? And what is your plan to address those environmental justice issues?
Okay, my idea of environmental justice is that when people have housing and jobs where they can pay their bills and they don't have to have 3 jobs to survive, they have time to care about the environment. Environmental justice is also where we get to have a voice against upstream communities that are planning projects that will pollute our water. If they pollute our water, it doesn't matter what happens to our pipes in the city, it'll be polluted anyway. And aside from that, I believe that city officials should be very transparent in their opinions about these things. And I also hope that the city will pressure large corporations within the city to decrease their amount of time that they are converting to green energy. I think some of the projections are too long, and we're going to see major climate impact before those projections pass by.
Thank you, Wendy. Which brings us to Roz. Councilor
Thank you.
Randorf.
There we
Oh,
go. Yeah, I'm
great.
ready. Thank you so much, Rich.
Yep.
Couple quick ideas. We can directly control upstream and downstream by managing our utilities and our stormwater, good park and city maintenance. But the three things that I'm key about is one, with former Councilor Joe Cypress and I, we put together the Climate Emergency Declaration, which equaled our climate action work plan. 1. 2, I signed on for water justice in January 22 of 2022, a joint statement from the Duluth public leaders against the Polymet Dam, because we don't need a copper nickel mine here. We've got enough infinitely recyclable metals that will last us a lifetime. Third, I'm working currently with the MCEA on milepost 7. That is our Silver Bay dam, our taconite dam, to have our tailings, which is a 50-year-old dam that they want to create, and they want to put more and expand it. Many 650 acres of expansion with a 50-year-old permit. I want to say pause. Let's think that through. Let's do that right, because you know what? We've got Lake Superior, we've got the Lake Superior waterways. And when we're talking water justice, the last thing we need is a dam compromise break coming downstream here to Duluth.
Thank you very much, Roz. Which brings us to Salam. Salam, would you like to hear the question again, or are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I'm not gonna pretend I'm an expert in this field, but I will do my best to learn and educate myself on this. I feel like the first thing I'll do is educate myself and constituents about the importance of clean, green, and a safe environment. Do my best to support projects and organizations and trust the experts in this field. Also, I would continue to organize local initiatives with youth and volunteers that actually pick up litter. They go to neighborhoods and pick up trash. And so I'll do my part doing that and, and help, promote it. Thank you.
Thank you, Salam. This brings us to District 5. This time, Ginka will go first, followed by Janet. Ginka, would you like to hear the question again?
I'm good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So there are a few things that I want to focus on. I want to focus on the TMDL and focus on reducing the mercury in our water. And then I also want to make sure to test lead levels and make sure that people hopefully don't have lead poisoning in their system. My bet is that they do, and we need to set up a plan to help out those people who do, because that affects cognitive and motor skills. And that's really unfortunate. I see it every day at my job with children. Oh, 1 minute. You distracted me. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, you distracted me. I'm good.
You were saying that you see that with people that you work with and the children in your schools or at schools. I'm sorry to distract you.
Yeah, so I see it with children that I work with, the lead poisoning and how they act cognitively. They're more impulsive and it makes it more unsafe, and it's really unfortunate. And so we really need to focus on that and just climate change in general and how to ready ourselves with the drastic weather that we have.
Thank you, Ginka. Janet.
Thank you. Thank you for the justice theme today. I believe environmental justice is different for everyone. So when you say that, people may have different things that come into their mind, whether it be their housing, whether it be the parks they live in, whether it be the roads. So there are many things that I agree with on here. Green development, transportation, infrastructure, especially NLX, where I served on that committee and had an opportunity to go down and speak to the state on this. And it's moving forward. We're so close, and I believe we're going to make it happen this year. But yeah, really people and environmental justice for them could be just reconnecting to the foods, urban agriculture, which I've been building with the community garden, with St. Mark Church and the Giving Garden, which is building and expanding programming and people reconnecting to the land. Lead pipes, WLSSD, those are definitely things we're already working on. One really important piece for me is the Green New Deal housing, which really tells a story. I was one of the founding members with Mr. Will Munger on that committee, on the board. We're building housing that is green, net zero, but it also values home buyers, people who can't afford homes. So those are pathway for people to buy their first homes, as well as a jobs program, teaching people how to build these green homes. So Green New Deal housing and how we're supporting that at the city, which I've had a really intimate ability to move that forward. If you haven't seen it, up by Harbor Highlands, where I grew up, there is a home that's already up now and somebody's going to move into.
Thank you. All right. Well, now that we have reached the end of the 3 questions, I really wanted to take a moment just to thank you all for being here and to thank the about 50, 45 plus the candidates, delegates who are here tonight to listen to and get a chance to meet the candidates. This is going to be their closing statement. They'll each get 2 minutes. Again, we'll start at the top with the at-large candidates, since all delegates will have an opportunity to vote there, and then we will move to the first, the third, and the fifth, where you would only vote if you live in those districts at the upcoming convention. I will at some point drop into the chat again if you are interested in becoming a member of the DFL Progressive Caucus. We would appreciate your support, so I'll drop a little thing in there at some point. But let me let the candidates know their order of speaking, especially because we have 4 candidates up in the at-large and they've been jumping all around the whole time. This is the reverse order from your opening statement. So it'll begin with Jenna, followed by Miranda, and then Lynn, and then Ashley. So this is a 2-minute closing remarks on anything you would like to speak to the delegates. And Jenna, you may begin.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, everyone, for this conversation. I'm so grateful for the time with you all. As a city councilor at large, I will work hard for social and economic and environmental justice with and for Duluthians, and I do that now by supporting a group of citizens who want to make Duluth safer for pedestrians and cyclists, working with organizations that protect us from unfair utility rate increases, working in West Duluth with my neighbors to test their water for lead, advocating alongside racial justice groups for better local law enforcement practices, to supporting Indigenous leaders in their work to uphold treaty rights and protect our fresh water. And I work to center the lived experiences of our communities in the public process now. And I'm really excited to apply that experience and commitment to building relationships to create meaningful change as an at-large city councilor, getting things, the people that they need to thrive here, things that we've been talking about all night: affordable housing for all, expanding public transportation, designing walkable neighborhoods, weatherizing and electrifying homes and buildings, solar manufacturing and installation, and more. There are so many projects that can provide well-paid union jobs here in Duluth and benefit our communities now and into the future. And I just think that the decisions we are making now on how to allocate and implement these historical state policies and federal funding opportunities will have like generational impacts. And I am so deeply committed to working for and building upon our progressive DFL values to co-create a city that works for everyone. I want to work together with you all and our community at large to take care of one another. And I would be so honored to earn your endorsement for Duluth City Council. And thank you all for being here tonight. And thank you so much for being a delegate. And I look forward to seeing you next Saturday.
Thank you, Jenna. Miranda, you would be up next for your closing remarks.
Closing remarks. Okay. I just want to say that since I started, I've been learning, so much. I love Duluth, from running the trails of the Superior Hiking Trail to community members sitting in this Zoom to talking to the delegates. And it's so weird because I get so energized by this work, and I never knew that this would be where I am at today, right? And I have to give some credit to College of St. Scholastica, because I'm currently in a policy class and I'm just killing it, just saying. And that's where it started, right? So yeah, that's it. And thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. Lynn, you are our next speaker in the at-large race.
All right. Thank you all for having us tonight and taking time out of your evening. I'll say that first half. Second half, I have to say, I felt really called to run to city council this time around. Although people have approached me in the past to do it. It's not just unique to us that we're running into housing challenges. But I think Duluth is a unique city. I have experience creating housing for all for over 20 years, and I've been doing it. And I think we need to have a strong housing voice on the council. And that's why I've really chosen to run. Housing is something that supportive is very important. There's also a lot of conversation about the missing middle. The first-time home buyers, and getting them out of multifamily properties can also create utilization of Section 8 vouchers, remove the pressure off the system. The missing middle should be something that's not just thought about as single-family homes. It needs to be thought about as townhouses, co-ops, some more creative living situations. And these are the ways we can fill in some of our infill housing or our downtown, create some more life in different places. Also with housing, when you're thinking about it, creating that density in the right way, it's good for the environment, increases public transportation. Housing also should be something that wraps around with our infrastructure in our community, our streets, our lead water pipes, unfiltered stormwater, PFAS that's out there going into Lake Superior. Those different environmental issues also come back to housing. Also to business development. You cannot do that if you do not have a place for the businesses to house the employees they're bringing in. They need to all come together. It is a full circle thing. And if they're not all working together, we can't actually thrive in this city. So I would love to see Duluth come into something different. I came here in the 90s. I've seen it grow, and it can go to be something so much bigger than what it is. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Lynn. And Ashley.
I just want to say that I love this city so much, and I've just been really blessed by having the people of Duluth, the citizens of Duluth, invest in me, and I want to take the opportunity to invest back in them. This work has given me a sense of purpose when times get hard, and I want to continue to devote myself in the next 4 years if I'm honored with this position to continue doing that. And I just hope and invite all the delegates to be looking at my website and the platforms that I've listed out. I have a pretty expansive list of how I'd like to, approach things. Housing is number one, but conservation of the environment, workforce development, developing stronger community programs for families and our citizens, and keeping government accountable. I think there's a wide variety of ways that we can all band together and make a better city. And I just am so excited for the next 4 years, and I am hoping to be on a team with hopefully as many wonderful female candidates that are available on here, and any other individuals who want to be stewards of the city. So thank you so much for your time, delegates.
Thank you, Ashley. So those are our 4 candidates in the at-large race, and we will now move to District 1. In the opening statements, Wendy went first, followed by Tim. So we'll have Tim go this time, followed by Wendy.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rich. I just wanted to just make a few points here on why I should be elected the District 1 City Councilor. I think experience matters. I've been involved in city government going back 30 years now and 6 different commissions. I think that work in the trenches of city government is important and provides a good basis for being a good city councilor. I think my planning and development experience is really important with the important projects we have going on in District 1, the London Road reconstruction, which is getting ready to take place, and the redevelopment of the Lester Park golf course site. Hugely important projects for District 1. And having been on both sides, both as an architect working in development and also as a 2-term planning commissioner, I think that experience is going to be really important for the residents in District 1 as these projects move ahead. I wanted to make a statement here tonight. I met with Gary Anderson before I decided to run for District 1. And one of the things that's bothered me a lot about the DFL the last few years is the split that we have between clean water and labor supporters. And my hope is that the Prove It First legislation will be the thing that finally brings our party back together, because honestly, we need everyone and we all need to work together to achieve our DFL platform. Also just wanted to state I'm running for council for one reason, and that I have no hidden agenda here other than I love Duluth. I fell in love with Duluth when I was a child and told my parents I was going to live here one day. And for me, that dream of living in Duluth came true, and I really love Duluth and want to do this for my son and for all the kids in Duluth for their future.
Thank you, Tim. And Wendy, your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you everybody for having me here. It was really great to get to know all of the other candidates better. And I hope delegates, I hope you will consider voting for me. I look forward to listening to the constituents of District 1 and looking into how to collaborate with City Council to represent District 1 in the way that I feel that my neighbors would like me to. I also will be working toward childcare, accessibility, affordable housing, climate care action, a more caring economy, and I'll be voting with strong support for our unions, as well as trying to collaborate with City Council to make sure infrastructure is available to everybody. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Wendy. This brings us to District 3. Roz?
Thank you so much, Rich. First of all, I would just want to say thank you to everyone on this call for your activism in our community. You make us stronger. I'm asking for your support as I seek the DFL endorsement for the 3rd District City Councilor. I'm proud of the work that I've done on climate action, emergency declaration, that myself, former Councilor Cypress, and current Councilor Mayo worked on twice, and the climate action work plan that passed. I am proud of the Lincoln Park Warming Center. I'm proud of the community crisis worker embedded in the downtown district, skywalks and ramps. I'm proud of the $19.4 million dedicated to affordable housing. I'm proud of the push to reduce everyone's property tax burden so everyone can afford to live in Duluth. I'm proud of the Minnesota Healthcare for All that I brought through twice, once myself, once with the Councilor Mayo. I lead with my values, a value of a variety of housing for all incomes, protecting our natural resources for generations to come, sustainable economic and development that provides jobs people can live on, safe neighborhoods that connect people to a vibrant downtown, It has been my honor to be your counselor. Gain from that experience, I have more to offer. And I want to work to represent you, to work hard, and no one will work harder than me. But the key to being a great counselor is building trust, working together when you don't agree, coming together when things go wrong, building back so that you can talk about issues again and bring it forward. Those are the real key components that you need to be able to do this job well. Because I think President Kennedy will attest, sometimes it gets hot in there and you be able to turn the temperature down, cool your head, and to be able to work together, because good government is done with good people. And sometimes that means thinking, looking, seeing things through their eyes, compromising, and seeing the good in each other. And that's what makes a really good counselor. Thank you.
Thank you, Roz. This brings us to District 4. Salam, your closing remarks.
All right, thank you. At first, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to attend this. I'm honored to run for District 4 for City Council, mostly because like I want people to find, you know, just I want to listen to people. I want to do what's right, and I would love to just help people find their own voices. Also, to know that like city electives are there to serve them as people, and it's not the other way around. Also, one more thing is that, you know, it's often that people that are impacted by decisions that are being made, they're not at the table normally. And when we're all together making decisions, it's best like the folks that are impacted by the decisions being made to be present, or at least have their input in it. I believe it's about process. I believe it's also about experience. And I just feel like it'd be a good opportunity to just, I guess, be a part of it and shake some stuff up. I wanna shake some stuff up. So thank you.
Thank you, Salam. In District 5, just looking back at my list here, in District 5, we had Janet with the opening, followed by Ginka. So we will have Ginka do the closing statement, followed by Janet.
Wonderful. I am running for city council because I am frustrated with how things have been going, with how West Duluth has been ignored, and how it's really difficult to talk to the city government for anything. I've talked to business owners, I've talked to constituents about just trying to communicate with the city government and being ignored or not heard, or just being pretty much gaslit into believing that they're doing something wrong. People are frustrated, and I'm going to be working full-time as a city councilor to help my constituents and to advocate for them and not vote how the city wants me to vote, but vote for my constituents.
Thank you, Ginka. And then our final closing statement of the evening is from Janet Kennedy.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I look for your support at the DFL convention a week from Saturday. Serving as the 5th District City Councilor, I was able to unseat a 2-term incumbent who really didn't do any work. And I feel since then, I have been invested in the work. I will respectfully disagree with Ms. Tarnowski in that I've been working really hard. And as the president, and at the time we're at right now, I would just ask and look at what we've been able to bring forward and what we need to bring forward. The reality is we have so many open seats right now that it is not the time to change the 5th District Councilor. I have 70% approval rating. I may not agree on everything, right? I may not get back to everyone. This is a part-time job, but I tell you, I'm fully invested and I'm creating the work and creating what we want to see in our community. If you haven't seen the State of the City address, I would look at that as well and just listen to what I'm bringing forward. Community-centered economic development, intergovernmental solutions that look at health disparities, which include housing, which include the environment. We need vibrant neighborhoods. We need those connections. We need transportation across our city. The reality is it takes relationships. I've built those in the last 3 years. There's a huge learning curve. I'm not even sure if I learned it all. I know Vice President Randorf and I just said the other day, we're still just learning this and we're 4 years into it. This is not the time to change. I look forward to understanding Ms. Tarnowski's platform and how we're going to continue to move forward without having to start over again. There's going to be a lot of start over. There's going to be a lot of mentoring. I look forward to all of that. I look forward to serving those of you who are able to move forward. But right now I'm invested and I'm going to continue to do the work. I've worked hard. I've been able to move forward and be elected despite what everybody thought. And I plan to do that again. So I thank you for the time. I look forward to the conversations. I look forward to agreeing and not agreeing, but finding that middle that works for everybody.
Thank you, Janet. And thank all of you who are listening in on this meeting. I really appreciate you all being here. This has been a really